Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to weave in your ends for garter stitch and stockinette. It's really simple. You'll just need a tapestry needle. I'm just using one of these plastic ones, and 9 times out of 10 the ends that you need to weave in are actually just the ones that are attached to your knitting. So we're just going to use one of these and let's begin. So you want to start by threading your tapestry needle. I find that putting the yarn over the edge of the tapestry needle and then using that as more of a solid piece of yarn makes it easier to thread the needle. And for the sake of this video, we're going to call this side the back. With garter stitch, both sides are the same, but we'll just pretend that this is the back. So I'd always recommend weaving your ends into the back piece of your knitting. This technique will hide most of the stitches, but just in case, it's always better to do it from the back. So let's start. So we want to start quite close to where the yarn is situated. So we're going to go through this one. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to weave our ends in a zigzag like this. So see where you have this stitch, then a stitch there, then a stitch there, then there, then there, then there, like a little zigzag. So we're going to follow that line all the way up. So start with the stitch closest to your yarn and just pull that through. Then we want to go to the stitch just above, but to the left. You can do to the left or the right, doesn't matter as long as you keep it consistent. And then again, go into the stitch just above to the right, and then go into the stitch just above to the left, and the stitch just above to the right, and the stitch just above to the left. So you could stop there, but just to make sure that these stitches are a little bit more secure in case of any stretch this way, we're actually going to loop back round and do a row of stitches going back down. So follow the direction of the stitch to go down, and then here you can go either to the right or the left, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go to the left. So you want to go into the stitch below, to the right, then the stitch below to the left, then the stitch below to the right, then the stitch below to the left. So what we've done here is we've gone up and back down. So then if your knitting gets stretched this way, your loose yarn is not as likely to pop out. Now to finish this off, just to make sure that that loose yarn is not going to go anywhere, we're going to split the yarn all the way up these stitches here. So I'm actually going through the middle of the yarn, and this will just hold that piece of yarn nice and tight so it's not likely to go anywhere. See that? Then you can take your scissors and trim. I always leave a little tail just so there's a little bit more give if it does stretch, and see how then when you stretch it doesn't really go anywhere, and you can't even tell from the other side of the yarn. So this is where we've weaved in those stitches and it's barely visible. I mean, it is practically invisible. So that's how you weave in your ends into garter stitch. Let's do stockinette. So stockinette is very similar. So for this exercise, we're going to use the V shapes as the front, which is typically the case with stockinette, and the back, where the pearl bumps are, this is going to be our back. So we're going to basically repeat that process. So thread your needle, and then we're going to go, oops, and then we're going to go up through this stitch here. Again, you can choose any one. That was maybe a little bit too far away. I could have gone a bit closer. And I'm going to go to the right because I should have probably gone a bit closer. So the next stitch up to the right, or you can do to the left. Next stitch up to the left. Then I'm going to go next stitch up to the right. Next stitch up to the left. Next stitch up to the right. And next stitch up to the left. Again, you don't want to pull too tight. You want to keep it sort of a nice tension to reflect your knitting tension. Then we're going to repeat the process. I'm going to go back down and I'm going to go to the left. So 1 stitch down to the right, 1 stitch down to the left, 1 stitch down to the right, 1 stitch down to the left, whoops, and then I'm going to do one more, 1 stitch down to the right. So you can barely see from the back. Let's have a look from the front. Again, it's practically invisible. So to finish that off, we're just going to go up and split the yarn a couple of times. You might have to almost pivot your needle to get it to go through the center of the yarn. And just pull that to really hold that yarn in place. Give that a little trim. And there you go. So again, when you stretch it, it's not really going anywhere and you can barely see the stitches. So I hope that's helped you understand how to weave in your ends. You can use the same principle for other stitches. The general idea is to follow the direction of the yarn within those stitches. So hopefully that's helped and you've enjoyed the video. Bye.